My world imploded 2 weeks before my wedding. My fiancée, Rachel, cheated on me with her ex. The only thing I could do was call everything off. I'm Jackson, 27. Until recently, I thought I had it all figured out. I was about to marry Rachel, 26, someone I'd been with for 7 freaking years. Almost a quarter of my life gone. The plan was simple: marry the woman I loved, build a life, the whole happily ever after cliché. The more I replayed everything in my head, the clearer it became that someone who could do that wasn't someone I could build a life with. When dawn broke, I knew she wasn't coming back, and I sure as hell wasn't waiting around for her. The switch flipped. Time for action. I knew what I had to do. I sat on the edge of the bed, my heart pounding. I tried calling her again. Voicemail, again. The worry was starting to mix with a deep, unsettling anger. Where the hell was she? I grabbed my phone and scrolled through our texts, desperately searching for a clue, anything. Nothing. Our last conversation was about which shade of ivory to choose for the damn tablecloths. There was no sign of anything wrong. Just normal, wedding planning crap. Talk to her, my mom urged. 7 years, Jackson? You can't just throw that away over one mistake. It wasn't a mistake, I snapped back. It was a choice. A calculated, selfish choice to lie to me. My dad, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. Nobody's saying she was right, but you're making a huge decision right now, fueled by emotion. Maybe take some time before you make anything final. Before all this went down, everything was about the wedding. And let me tell you, if you haven't planned one, you have no idea the level of chaos involved. The sheer number of decisions is insane. Venue, caterers, flowers, linens, colors, and don't even get me started on the seating chart from hell. Rachel, being a perfectionist, needed everything to be precisely right. It was stressful, no doubt, but seeing her excitement made it almost worth it. Almost? You, what? I yelled into the phone, my voice cracking. Rachel, you didn't say a damn thing. You just disappeared. No text, no note, nothing. I thought something horrible had happened. She sighed like I was overreacting. It wasn't a big deal. My friends planned this trip, a reunion, and I didn't want to disappoint them. They went all out, Jackson. I sent her a text, short and direct. Where are you? No response. I sent another, this time laced with fury. I know you're in Mexico. Call me now. Still nothing. I stared at my phone, waiting for any sign of life. My text sat there, unanswered, a digital slap in the face. Every passing second made the anger burn hotter. How could she just leave like that? No note, no text, nothing. The complete lack of respect was infuriating. 2 weeks from the wedding, 2 weeks. And instead of being here with me, planning the day we'd been supposedly dreaming of for years, she was on a beach in Mexico with her friends, ignoring my existence. My parents, predictably, didn't take it well when I told them I'd canceled everything. My mom's reaction hit me like a punch to the gut. You canceled the wedding? Her voice was sharp with disbelief. Without even a word, she just took off? I said, trying my best to sound reasonable even to myself. Mexico with her friend's mom is what I'm hearing. I wasn't told anything. Just gone. And now she won't even come home. What the hell am I supposed to do? I tried to refocus. The wedding prep wouldn't do itself. Caterer confirmation, the final music playlist, picking up those damn wedding favors we'd ordered ages ago, the list was mocking me. But by lunchtime, the silence was deafening. No text, no call. So I caved. Hey, I texted, trying to keep it light, is everything okay? Haven't heard from you. Nothing. That's when I called. Straight to voicemail. That was just wrong. Rachel's always glued to her phone, especially with everything that's going on right now. Finally, late that evening, hours after my first message, my phone buzzed. Rachel. Too bad my patience had evaporated. I answered instantly, my voice sharper than I intended. Where are you? Her response was so offhand it felt like a slap. I'm in Mexico. I told you I was going on this trip. Disappoint them, is that it? I snapped. What about disappointing me? The guy you're supposed to be marrying in 2 weeks? Do you have any idea how this looks? It's just a trip, she said, a dismissive edge creeping into her voice. I'll be back in a few days and we can move on. You're blowing this way out of proportion. Her tone cooled, turning almost clinical. I'll be back soon. Let's talk then. You're overreacting. And then she hung up. I just stood there, phone in hand, staring at the wall. The sheer dismissiveness of it hit me hard. It felt like she was deliberately trying to minimize my feelings. Everything I'd put into this, the effort, the love, it felt like she was trashing it. We'd found this perfect little garden venue just outside the city. Nothing over the top, just beautiful and intimate. And it was all locked in. Invitations were out, RSVPs were rolling in, and both our families were already here, knee-deep in wedding madness. Rachel's mom was practically living with us, and my mom had transformed our living room into a craft explosion zone. Just the night before, Rachel and I had been up late wrestling with the seating chart. She was dead set against putting her college friends anywhere near the DJ, convinced they'd drown out the music for everyone else. I joked that they brought the party, but she gave me that look, playful but serious, and I backed down. Typical Rachel. Stubborn, but you couldn't stay mad at her. Hearing her so casually dismissive now just didn't connect. My voice hardened again. This isn't about drama, Rachel. It's about basic respect. You seriously think a last-minute excuse covers just vanishing without a word? Do you even get what being a partner means? I've given you everything, sacrificed for us, and this is what you decide to pull 2 weeks before our wedding? That's just not okay. I stood there, staring out the window, feeling like a complete idiot, trying to make sense of it all. At first, I thought maybe she just needed to get away, deal with some pre-wedding jitters in her own way. But the more I thought about it, the less it made sense. Rachel wasn't the kind of person to just ghost anyone, especially not now. I went back upstairs and started poking around, half hoping, half dreading finding some kind of note, some explanation. Her clothes still hung in the closet, a ghostly echo of her presence. Her shoes, neatly aligned by the door, looked abandoned rather than organized. And her suitcase, tucked away in the corner, remained untouched, as if she hadn't planned any sort of trip. The only thing missing was her purse and, strangely, her phone charger, a detail I hadn't registered before. Let me back up a bit. Rachel and we were a college romance. She was a bright-eyed freshman, and I was a slightly more jaded sophomore. The moment I saw her is etched in my memory. She was sitting on the campus lawn, surrounded by friends, her laughter infectious, and she had this undeniable radiance. I know, it sounds ridiculously cliché, but it's the truth. She had a way of illuminating any room she walked into. We started dating after a series of study sessions that were more about me concocting elaborate excuses to be around her than actually hitting the books. Now, it was nearing 9 p.m. and I was slumped on the couch, utterly spent. My mind had run through every possible explanation, every scenario, and none of them made any damn sense. My thumb hovered over the emergency call button. Calling the police to report her missing felt extreme, maybe even pathetic, but I was at a loss as to what else I could do. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was Eric, my best friend, and his text hit me like a punch to the gut. Dude, what is Rachel doing in Mexico? That's when a seed of doubt, a nasty little weed, began to sprout in my mind. Did I really know the woman I was about to marry? The question hung heavy in the silence of the house we'd built together. Her voice, sharp and dismissive, replayed in my head, "You're overreacting." Overreacting? Was I really? A part of me desperately wanted to believe her, to convince myself that this was just stress, a temporary lapse in judgment fueled by pre-wedding jitters. But the more I dissected it, the more I saw a calculated series of choices, deliberate actions that pointed to something far more unsettling. This wasn't a mistake. It was a betrayal, a deep violation of the trust we'd sworn to uphold. I was numb. I just couldn't process it. I started thinking about everything I'd poured into this relationship 7 years. 7 years of being her steadfast support, her biggest fan, practically her everything. I'd been there through every academic setback, every frustrating job search, every agonizing family crisis. When she decided to change careers, I gladly worked extra shifts to help cover the bills. When she needed space to reconnect with herself, I gave it to her unconditionally. I wasn't perfect, God knows, but I'd always been present, always available. And now here I was, alone in our darkened house, consumed by worry and confusion, while she was apparently off gallivanting as if she didn't have a single responsibility in the world. I just couldn't reconcile it. The blatant disrespect was staggering. Her dad just shook his head slowly, his jaw tight with barely suppressed anger. "We'll talk to her," he promised. "She needs to come home and fix this." "Good luck with that," I muttered, the bitterness rising in my throat. "She wouldn't listen to me. And she's not answering your calls either, is she?" They stayed for a little while longer, offering empty platitudes and awkward silences, but honestly, there was nothing left to say. When they finally left, the silence that descended felt heavy, oppressive, but I didn't mind it. I needed the solitude to think, to try and untangle the mess in my head. My first thought was that maybe her phone battery had died, but even then she'd usually text me from someone else's phone or, at the very least, leave a note if she planned to be gone for any length of time. I called her mom next, clutching at straws. "Maybe she's with you?" Her mom sounded genuinely surprised. "No, she didn't mention anything to me." "Isn't she with you?" That just added another layer of icy dread to my growing anxiety. Her dad didn't know where she was either, nor did her sister, who was staying at her parents' house to help with the wedding preparations. Anyway, the real kicker came later. A few days later, Eric texted me again. Bro, it gets even worse. Along with the message was a screenshot of another Instagram story. But this one wasn't on Brittany's account. It was posted on Rachel's own. The thing is, I couldn't see what was going on, not on my own. Rachel had put whatever it was on her close friends list, and I guess I didn't make the cut. Then Eric sent me that screenshot. Rachel sitting at some outdoor cafe, holding hands with someone. Some things never change, the caption read. My gut clenched. I zoomed in, and there he was, David, her ex. The second I forwarded that damn screenshot, I knew I'd crossed a line. Some people replied immediately. A few offered support, telling me I was right to stand up for myself. Others were more hesitant, suggesting we might still be able to salvage things. Then there was Brittany, Rachel's college buddy, who had the nerve to respond with, "Wow, broadcasting your drama like this? Grow up." I just stared at her message. I didn't have the energy to respond. What was I even feeling? Anger? Confusion? Betrayal? I was just stuck, staring at my phone like it was personally responsible. I texted Eric again. WTF is this? He replied almost instantly, I don't know, man. Thought you already knew. My mind went into overdrive. Rachel hadn't breathed a word about any kind of reunion. We'd been together practically every day leading up to this. I couldn't imagine her planning something like this without me finding out, at least, I thought I couldn't. My fiancée, the woman I was supposed to marry in 2 weeks, was on a beach vacation in another country. The air just seemed to leave my lungs. She looked happy, relaxed. Meanwhile, I was at home, slowly losing my mind, convinced something awful had happened to her. I replayed Brittany's Instagram story, frame by agonizing frame, trying to make sense of it. The first clip was a wide shot of the group by the pool, Rachel right in the middle wearing that floral swimsuit she'd bought a few months back. The next one showed them clinking glasses with a caption that read reunion vibes. Then came a shot of the resort itself, tagged in big, bold letters, Cancun, Mexico. I stared at the screen for what felt like forever, battling with myself over whether I should send it, but the anger burning inside me refused to let me back down. I hit send and still, silence. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling like a complete idiot, waiting for a reply that never came. Minutes stretched into hours, and with each passing second, the anger sharpened, intensified. Who does this? Who ignores the person they're about to marry, especially after pulling a stunt like this? The fury began to morph into something even more corrosive, hurt. How could she be so dismissive? How could she treat me, the guy who's practically bent over backwards for her, like I was completely irrelevant? That's when I decided I needed answers, and the only way to get them was through her friends. I started calling her friends, beginning with Brittany, her closest college friend. Straight to voicemail. Then I tried Ashley, another one of her friends. Same result. One by one, I dialed every single one of her inner circle, but none of them answered. It was like they'd all vanished right along with her. By this point, I was beyond anxious. I couldn't shake this nagging feeling that something was seriously wrong, and it wasn't just my imagination running wild. That's when I knew deep down that I had to do it. The first call I made was to the venue. My voice was surprisingly calm, steady even, like I'd rehearsed this 100 times in my head. I need to cancel the wedding, I told the coordinator. There was a pause on the other end, then a quiet, I'm sorry to hear that. It wasn't just the venue either. Methodically, I called every single vendor we'd booked, the caterer, the photographer, the DJ. Each call took another little piece of me, but I forced myself to keep going. I had to. There was no way the wedding could go on, not after this. We'd been through so much together over the years, final exams, the stress of job searches, that awful period when I thought growing a beard would make me look more rugged, it definitely didn't. But this was different. This was a betrayal I couldn't ignore. She was my anchor, the one person I instinctively trusted, no matter the situation. I finally decided to propose this year. We discussed marriage. I knew she wanted it, but I wanted to be in a position to offer her something truly special, a secure future together. The moment I got down on one knee at the diner where we had our first date, well, she started crying and said yes before I could even finish the question. I'll never forget that moment. I invited her parents inside, and we all sat down in the living room. I laid everything out for them, the planned trip she'd taken alone, the lies she'd been telling, the way she'd brushed me off every time I tried to talk to her about it. Her father's face darkened with each word I spoke, while her mother's eyes filled with tears. I don't understand, her mom said, her voice cracking. She was so thrilled about the wedding. Why would she do this? I wish I had an answer, I said honestly. But the truth is, I don't even recognize her anymore. It wasn't the first time Rachel had just disappeared without saying much. It had become a habit lately. She'd head out early for coffee or to run errands, often without even a note. I used to tell myself it was her way of coping with the wedding stress, but now it's clear to me that wasn't it at all. I got up, brewed some coffee, and waited for her to come back. After an hour, I started getting uneasy. I sent her a text, "Morning. Where are you?" No response. Maybe she was caught up with errands. Rachel wasn't the type to just vanish, so I tried not to overthink it. Well, this is the final chapter in the mess that my life has been the last few weeks. Things didn't just quietly end. Rachel found a way to create even more chaos. Honestly, I'm more than ready to put this whole nightmare behind me. Her tears intensified. "It wasn't like that," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I didn't want to hurt you." "You didn't mean to hurt me?" I repeated, my voice sharp with disbelief. "You knew exactly what you were doing. You knew it would hurt me, and you did it anyway because you were only thinking about what you wanted." "It's over, Rachel. We're done." I shut the door and locked it, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe. "You ruined this, Rachel," I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "Not me." She was sobbing now. "Don't do this. Don't throw us away." "I'm not the one who threw us away," I said, stepping back into the house. "You already did that. Now you have to live with the consequences." She reached out, grabbing the door handle. "Jackson, please? I'll do anything. Just let me explain." "There's no wedding," I said, my voice flat and cold. "You made sure of that." Her face crumpled as she shook her head. "No, this isn't right. We've been together for 7 years. You can't just throw that away." Around the time, her friends started badmouthing me to anyone who would listen. I heard through mutual friends that I was controlling and immature for calling off the wedding. They said I overreacted, that I couldn't handle Rachel having her own life. The hypocrisy of it all wasn't lost on me. These were the same friends who were egging her on to lie and sneak around in the first place. I ignored it as best as I could, but the audacity of them trying to paint me as the villain just added fuel to the fire. Then my phone buzzed again. The phone rang. "Rachel." My gut clenched, and I just couldn't bring myself to answer. I watched the screen until it went dark, then a minute later it started all over again. Still, I ignored it. Soon after, the texts began. The first one read, "I wish this was a joke." Short, pathetic. I didn't respond. A joke? She was the one turning our relationship into a punchline. After I closed the door on her that night, I didn't hear directly from Rachel again. I assumed she'd run back to her parents' place, looking for sympathy, twisting the story to make herself the victim. Initially, the silence felt strange, 7 years of daily contact, just gone. But truthfully, the quiet was a welcome change from the constant drama. Or so I thought initially. Then she broke the silence with that infuriating message. "I needed this trip. My friends planned it and I didn't want to hurt their feelings. I'm sorry if that upset you, but I'm not coming home early." I was stunned. I laid down the ultimatum. "Listen to me. If you don't get on the next flight back, there's no wedding and there's no me." I called her mom again, letting her know how things escalated. She tried to placate me, but I heard the worry in her voice. She knew something was wrong, too. "Maybe she'll show up soon," she said, but it lacked conviction. I hung up and tried to distract myself, TV, a book, anything. It didn't work. I ended up pacing around the house, phone glued to my hand, checking it every couple of minutes like it was a lifeline. My thoughts spiraled. What if something happened to her? My mind conjured up worst-case scenarios, a car accident, something worse. I even started searching news reports, desperate for any sign of trouble in the area, but found nothing. The whole situation was unbelievable. Then my own parents, usually my biggest supporters, started questioning my decisions. It felt isolating, like I was stranded on my own island. Things took another turn for the worse when Rachel's parents showed up that evening. They looked lost, hurt, and desperate. "Jackson," her mom said as soon as I opened the door. "What's going on?" "Rachel hasn't told us anything. All we know is the wedding's off." She reached out a hand, but I instinctively recoiled. "Don't," I said, holding up my hand to stop her. She just stared at me, her face etched with desperation. That's when Rachel herself appeared. "I love you, Jackson. Please, you have to believe me. I cut her off. "You just what? Needed a vacation, needed to reconnect? Or maybe you needed to show off with your ex and make sure everyone knew about it." I took a deep breath, walked to the door, and opened it. I didn't move aside. I stood there, blocking her path, arms crossed, my face a mask of calm, but my insides were anything but. Rachel looked like a wreck. Her hair was a mess, her eyes swollen and red from crying. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "Please, Jackson, we need to talk. You can't just do this. We're supposed to get married in 2 days." All I felt was contempt. You had 7 years to find closure, 7 years to get over him, and instead you wait until 2 weeks before our wedding to go running back to the past. Do you even hear yourself? Do you have any idea how ridiculous you sound? She didn't say a word. She stood there, tears streaming down her face, her eyes pleading. But inside, something had snapped. I was empty. Throw it away? The words escaped as a harsh, humorless laugh. Rachel, you did that already. You threw us away the moment you decided lies and secret trips were acceptable. She tried to speak, to defend herself, but I cut her off. Do you even realize the magnitude of what you've done? I poured everything into us. I was your rock, your supporter when everyone else doubted you, even yourself. And this is how you repay me? By running off to Mexico with your so-called friends, treating me like I'm an inconvenience, a nobody. Canceling the wedding obviously came at a price. I swallowed hard as I authorized the payments, watching thousands of dollars vanish into thin air. It wasn't about the money, not really. It was about finality, the crushing weight of knowing I was dismantling the future I'd painstakingly built with Rachel over the past 7 years. Each transaction felt like hammering another nail into the coffin of that dream. Once the calls were done, my focus shifted to the guest list. A good chunk of those names were Rachel's friends, the ones who were currently vacationing with her in Mexico. I drafted a message, carefully worded, informing everyone that the wedding was off. I didn't pull any punches, but I maintained a respectful tone. I won't repeat the exact phrasing here, but I made it clear that Rachel's choices had revealed a fundamental flaw in our relationship, one that made it impossible for me to proceed with the wedding. And then it all clicked. The pieces of the puzzle finally aligned. The constant little lies, the dismissive attitude, the sudden, convenient, stress relief trip. It wasn't just a girl's getaway, it was about him. Apparently, Rachel hadn't just gone to Mexico with friends. She'd gone to reconnect with a ghost from her past, the guy she dated before me, the one she always downplayed as some insignificant preemie footnote in her life. A fresh wave of anger surged through me. Any lingering doubt about my decision to cancel the wedding evaporated instantly. I wasn't overreacting. I wasn't making a mistake.